The God spell. Why the gospel is the only power that ends one world and begins another. Peace to the remnant, the mature, and the ones God has been preparing in silence. Today I'm teaching something most people never see because they've been trained to look for rituals, theatrics, and performance. But the kingdom doesn't move through performance. It moves through government. And what I'm about to show you is that the gospel, the God spell, is the most powerful spiritual force ever released into the earth. Not a sermon, not a church message, not a motivational speech, but the governmental decree that ends one world and begins another. The God spell is the only spell God ever authorized. Let me start with Matthew 24, verses 13 through 14. Jesus said, "The one who endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness." Not entertainment, not religion. A witness, a demonstration, a manifestation. A witness is a spell, a spoken decree that changes reality. So when people say, "I don't see you casting spells," they don't understand that the gospel is the greatest spell ever spoken. It is the God spell, the word that rewires minds, breaks illusions, and transfers people from one world to another. The kingdom spell is an empowerment, not a performance. Acts chapter 1, verses 6 through 8 proves it. The disciples asked Jesus about restoring the kingdom. Jesus didn't give them a date. He gave them power. You shall receive power, and you shall be witnesses. Witness means demonstration. Power means spiritual force. This is the same pattern my ancestors walked in. No performance, no theatrics, demonstration only. The end of age is a separation spell. Matthew chapter 13, verse 39 says, "The harvest is the end of the world. The reapers are the angels. the messengers, the ones who carry the word. So the gospel is the harvest mechanism. It separates wheat from tares. It divides truth from illusion. It ends one world and begins another. The kingdom is internal technology. Luke 17:21 says, the kingdom is within you. That means the real altar is internal. The real temple is internal. The real power is internal. This is why people don't see me casting spells, because I'm not performing magic. I'm releasing government. I'm releasing kingdom. I'm releasing the internal technology God placed inside me. Now let's talk about the shift of worlds. Esau ends, Jacob begins. Second Esdras 6:9 says, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The gospel is not a church message. It is a world-ending announcement. It is a transfer of authority. It is the rise of Jacob's world. Nations will bow to the God spell. Revelation 15:4 says, all nations shall come and worship before God, because his judgments are made manifest. Judgment means truth revealed. Manifest means undeniable. The gospel is the judgment spell, the unveiling of what is real. This is why these teachings carries weight. It's not persuasion, it's revelation. Your body is the temple that releases the spell. First Corinthians chapter 6, verse 13 and 19 through 20 say your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. That means your body is the place where divine decrees are issued. Your voice is the instrument. Your obedience is the offering. You don't need candles. You don't need powders. You don't need ritual. Your presence is the altar. Your voice is the decree. Your obedience is the spell. Now let's look at Isaiah 66, verses 1 through 2. The vessel God chooses. Isaiah 66 says, heaven is God's throne and earth is his footstool. God is not impressed by buildings, rituals, or performances. He says, "To this man will I look, the one who is poor and of a contrite spirit, and who trembles at my word." That is the vessel God uses. That is the altar God recognizes. That is the person who carries the God spell. And in Isaiah 61, we see the assignment of the vessel. Isaiah 61 says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me, not because of ritual, not because of performance, not because of theatrics. He anointed me to preach good tidings, bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty, open the prison, comfort all that mourn, rebuild the old waste, restore generations of desolation." This is not a sermon. This is government. This is kingdom. This is the God spell. So let's talk about why people don't see it. People don't see you cast a spell because they're looking for ritual. They're looking for smoke. They're looking for theatrics. They're looking for performance. But the kingdom doesn't move through performance. It moves through government. And the gospel is the governmental decree of a new world. So yes, I'm casting a spell. Not a magic spell, not a ritual spell, not a hoodoo performance. I am casting the God spell, the gospel of the kingdom, the only word that ends one world and begins another, the only word that separates wheat from tares, the only word that nations must bow to, the only word that transforms the vessel into a temple, the only word that awakens the kingdom within. This is the power God gave me. This is the assignment God trusted me with. This is the spell I cast, the God spell.